What's up, y'all? We are back. I'm back. I'm so excited to be here. Welcome to another Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday. Hey, Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday. Listen, I am so fired up. I'm so excited. I woke up this morning with that song from that reel in my head. Today's gonna be a good day. Today's gonna be a good day. Literally, because I was so fired up. I was like, yes, today's gonna be a great day. Too Busy is back. Got some stuff going on tonight. It's wonderful. And I'm so excited. So, for those of you that this is your first time joining me, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Raffinée, and I am the creator, I guess we'll call it, of Too Busy Tuesday. So, here's what it is. Too Busy Tuesday is my weekly series where I get a chance to share something that I no longer have time or energy for. Now, the disclaimer that I love to give each time is this: just because I'm too busy for it, or if I have a guest with me, just because my guest is too busy for it, does not mean you have to be too busy. So, the beautiful thing about all of this is that you get to pick and you get to choose, you get to decide. You get to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I am too busy. You get to decide if you're like, no, I actually have time or energy for that. You get to decide if you're somewhere in the middle. So, just because I'm too busy, do not feel any pressure to also be too busy. That's the beautiful thing about all of this. You get to pick and you get to choose. Now, I've been out for the last 2 weeks, y'all, and I have missed doing Too Busy. Here's why: because this really gets me fired up. Like when it's 6 o'clock and nearing 6 o'clock, I'm like, yes, I'm going live. Tuesday mornings, I'll be so fired up. I'm like, yes, I'm going. We're gonna have Too Busy. I'm gonna post. It's gonna be wonderful. And so I have missed being here, and so I'm so grateful. If you're watching live, welcome. If you're watching a replay, drop a replay in the chat. Y'all, listen. Last week, I was not feeling well. Like I had to cancel my clients for the day for work because my throat was doing something that I did not appreciate. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to talk, to do Too Busy, to talk, to do my back in my day event, to be able to talk even with my clients. Now, the beautiful thing about therapy is that I don't have to talk a whole lot in session, but the little bit that I do, I was like, I don't have it. And so I took last week to really rest and take care of myself. So thank y'all who reached out, who liked my post just to check in. I really appreciate it. I'm feeling so much better today. And so I'm grateful. And then the week before that, I had to cancel Too Busy because I had an out of town speaking engagement. And so that was phenomenal. I posted a couple of picture recaps of that. If you haven't seen it, you can scroll back down or wherever you're watching this and check it out. But I got an opportunity to go out to Georgia to speak to some incredible women in leadership. And y'all, it was so fun. I got a chance to share with them about being authentically themselves. We talked about combating imposter syndrome with their strengths. I told them, I was like, because I'm a therapist, y'all, we got to talk about feelings. We got to talk about emotions. So we talked about like being familiar with their emotions and creating inner safety. And then y'all, I had them identify what they were too busy for. So I gave them some time to talk in pairs about what is it that you don't have time or energy for. And some of the answers they gave were phenomenal. And I wrote a couple of them down because I was like, I'm definitely doing it Too Busy about that. So y'all have to stay tuned. Some of the things they talked about was like too busy for saying yes to everything and needing to really set some boundaries and say no sometimes. The one that I'm super excited about sharing about that'll be coming soon is too busy for focusing on the intent of what someone maybe said or did versus focusing on the impact that it had on us. And that is something I hear often. And so I'm going to take some time to like sit with that one, but that is forthcoming. So be on the lookout. Now, I'm going to share with y'all my topic tonight. Before I share my topic though, I got to tell y'all this announcement that I've been holding for a little bit, probably for like 2 months now, because I came back in March. So drum roll. I can't do the drum roll noise. I was just about to do it and I was like, what's going to come out of my mouth? It's probably going to be a little sketchy. So just let's do a little like that. Yeah, drum roll. So I am excited to share with y'all that Too Busy has been turned into a podcast. Yes, Too Busy has been turned into a podcast. So if you're out there and you're watching Too Busy, or you sometimes log on and you're like, man, I really would love to be able to listen to this sometimes, Good news, you can. Too Busy is actually available right now on Google Podcasts. It's available on Apple Podcasts, and it's also available on Spotify. So I'm going to drop a link that y'all can use if you're interested in adding it to your playlist. Please, please, please do so. I'm super, super excited because I've had some people ask me like, hey, Raffinée, is it possible we can get this in podcast form? Because I can't always, watch the YouTube. I can't always join you on Facebook Live. And so I'm super, super excited to share that it's available on those 3 platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, and Spotify. So you can go to that link, anchor.fm/too busy that I just dropped in the comments. And at Anchor, you'll be able to listen to it there, but you also will see a link to Apple, Google, or Spotify if you prefer one of those platforms. And you can add and save the Too Busy podcast to your list, and you'll get notified each week when it's updated. Now, the podcast usually gets updated like Tuesday night, sometimes first thing Wednesday morning. So by Wednesday, you should be able to listen. It might not be available immediately on the Tuesday that I recorded. So all of my guests that I've had thus far this season, y'all can go there and you can listen. So if you've missed any and you're like, man, I want to catch up, but I haven't had time to like sit and watch a video, go listen to it. It's been really, really exciting to like release it, for it to be out there. It's been available, but I hadn't announced it yet because I was like, I just want to have time to like really enjoy this and savor the moment and be able to tell the people what's going on. So yes, go listen to Too Busy. I'm not going to say anywhere you listen to your podcast, because it's not anywhere, but it is on Apple, Google, and Spotify, and Anchor if you don't have any of those. So yay. Woo-woo. Okay, so here are we talking about tonight. Let's get into it. Now, I titled this Too Busy Tuesday, Not My Remote. And I know some people probably were like, what? What is she talking about, not my remote? So, y'all, I have this illustration that I'm going to share tonight. And I have a remote here because I felt like I needed to bring like a physical item to share with y'all. So here's what it is. I don't have time or energy anymore to be focusing on the things that are outside of my control. So I've had this conversation with several people recently, and it made me think about a remote control. So a remote control works to a certain kind of device. So this works to the Vizio that is in my office. So I can turn that TV on, turn it up, change the channel, change the input, all the things with this remote control. Now, if I think about my life in a similar kind of way, there are things that are within my control, buttons that I would say are on the remote control of my life. Those things, maybe all kinds of things. You can drop some things that come to mind in the chat if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay. But some of those things might be like my feelings, my emotions, what I choose to wear, what I choose to eat, how much I sleep at night, maybe where I choose to work, what kind of car I drive. There are lots and lots of different things that I would say are on the remote control of my life, things that are within my control. Now, here's what I see happening sometimes. We are attempting to control things that are not actually buttons on our remote control. Things like other people's feelings, other people's responses and or behavior. Sometimes we choose not to share things with other people, or maybe not to have conversations or not to have confrontation with others because we're like, oh, I don't want to make them feel this way, or I don't want to cause them to be mad, or I don't want this to happen. And my question is that actually on your remote control? Like, is there a button on your personal remote control that's like somebody else's feelings, where you could be like, you know what, I'm going to turn this up a little bit, I'm going to turn this down a little bit? And I think the answer to that is no. Now, you might disagree with me. Let's talk about it if you do. But I think so often we can get fixated on things that are outside of our control, things that are not on our remote control that we actually don't have any control over. And what I have found in my own life is that if I shift my focus to the things that are within my control, if I shift my focus to the things that like I can manage and I can do something about, it changes the way that I show up. It changes the perspective that I have when it comes to having conversations. It changes the perspective that I have when I'm thinking about, engaging with someone else, or someone's be like, well, you did this and you made me this. And I'm like, I didn't make you anything because I don't have that much control. Like, to put that level of control, I guess is the word I want to use, or maybe even power to someone else, I think is huge to be able to say, like, you made me this. It relieves like the other person of the ability to be in control of themselves to say something like that. So if I go to somebody and be like, well, you did this, and then you made me mad, so that's why I punched you in the face. It's like, well, where's the onus for me? Where's the responsibility that I have to be in control of my feelings, to be in control of my behavior? And I think that's so, so important. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. I want you to think about this visual, this remote control that I'm talking about. And you can draw this on a piece of paper if you want, just draw like a little remote. I want you to identify, like, what are the things that are actually within your control? It doesn't matter what it is. It could be big or small. Y'all heard me say some examples, like where I choose to work, the car I choose to drive, what I choose to eat. It could be bigger things like my emotions, how I respond to my emotions as they come up, my behaviors, the friends I choose to have, who I follow on social media versus who I don't. And some of us probably need to unfollow some folks. But here's the thing. I want you to think about, what are the things that are on my remote control, things that are within my personal control. And then I also want to encourage you to think about, what are some of the things that are actually not on my remote that I want to remind myself that are not within my control. Maybe these are the things that you get hung up on, the things that cause you to like lose sleep, lose time, lose energy focusing in on. And if you pause for a moment, you might realize, like, oh, I'm wasting energy or time because it's not within my control. Or I'm giving this energy to this thing that I can't actually do anything about, or that I don't have any influence over. Now, after you do it, I would love for you to come back and drop in the comments and give me a response to something that jumps out at you. It could just be one thing, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. But I really want to encourage you to think about, like, what is within my personal control? What's on my remote control? And how can I really be intentional to focus on that? That's our too busy for this week. That's my too busy for this week, to really remind myself of that. Because here's the thing, I think I've told y'all this in the past. Just because I talk about these things and I say I'm too busy for these things, y'all, some of these things are still a work in progress for me. So I do not proclaim to be fully arrived and have it all figured out. I'm just using this as an opportunity to really share some of the things that I've learned along my journey. Now, as I mentioned before, Too Busy is on podcast. So if you want to go listen, add it to your podcast list, please, please, please. I would be honored if you would do so. And then the other thing I want to share with y'all. So tonight, after I finish up here, I've got about an hour, and then my 6-week series is going to be starting. I'm super, super excited about this. The last go round of this was so, so much fun. Now, if you're like, what's your 6-week series? My 6-week series is where I get an opportunity to support parents, mentors, and other influential adults in the lives of teenagers, to really be able to bridge the communication gap that exists there. So this 6-week series meets every week on Tuesday nights from 7:30 to about 9 Central Time. And we delve deep into the letters of LISTEN, which is the acrostic that I created, focused on those strategies. So LISTEN is leave judgment at the door, ignore distractions, show your interest, tell them what you heard, empathize with emotions, and no interruptions. Y'all, and we go and we take like a deep dive in all these things. So if you're interested, you want to hear more about it, feel free to go to my website. My website is my first name, last name.com. I'm going to drop it in the chat too, though. It's raffinewilson.com. If you're interested in reading more about it, hearing about it, want to sign up, you got a friend that like, ooh, you could benefit from this. You know, an educator that has been struggling and wants to get some additional information, I would be happy to have them. I've got a couple more spots that are available. Replays will be available, all the things. They'll have access to me, a private Facebook group, and so forth and so on. There's more information for real at the website though. So if you're interested, send me a DM. If you want to talk about it, if you need some payment flexibility, send me a DM. But I would love to have y'all. So I'm going to go and chill a little bit, take care of me, do some resting and breathing before I jump in with them at 7:30. So I hope to see y'all next week. We're going to be back here. I got a special guest next week. You don't want to miss it. So join us next Tuesday at 6 o'clock Central Time, right here, whether you're joining on YouTube Facebook, or if you're listening to the podcast, we'll be back here next week. All right.